Hi, my name is Meg, and I'm starting, I guess, a video blog of sorts, probably only for myself, just to talk about what I've been going through as far as being treated for anxiety has been like for the last month or so. Um, so basically, I've been treated for anxiety for, I would probably say, about 4 to 5 years. So yeah, I moved to Toronto, my 20s, and I lived there for quite a while. And I get into the recreational drug scene pretty hard towards the end of my stay in Toronto, and I'd say I probably had what would constitute, a nervous breakdown or a drug-induced psychological break at one point, and decided that I needed to remove myself from the situation, and I went home. So I went back from Ontario to New Brunswick, and it was almost like self-induced rehab because I didn't know anyone where I could get drugs, and uh, I just didn't have anywhere else to go. And everything was fine. I lived with my mom, and eventually I found a job, and I moved in with a roommate. Then I ended up moving from retail to working for a bank, and did really well there. And then eventually I was in a supervisory role, and a couple of things happened in a short period of time. I was physically assaulted. I saw a friend be physically assaulted. These are two different separate occasions, and I became overwhelmed with anxiety, and I took advantage of the short-term disability program and I started taking citalopram or Celexa, no matter whichever one you want to call that. And I got some good medication for sleeping and some Ativan, and took a month off, pretty much spent a month on the couch, and I felt really, really good. And I felt a change that I'd never felt from any other drug quite well. But with me, anxiety, it's like, imagine that you're a kid and you did something wrong, and you're gonna get in trouble for it, but no one has found out yet, but it's only a matter of time before people find out what you did, and you're going to be in big trouble. So that's the best way I can put into words the feeling that I would have. So life during those 4 years was great. I, managed to buy a condo. I really repaired my relationship with my dad, which was, it's true. It's my childhood and my relationship with my dad affected my adult life. But, we got past that. We were really, and still are really doing well. And then what happened was he and his girlfriend were going on a 2-week cruise. I don't currently have a vehicle. They offered to let me use a vehicle, and of course I was very excited, to have the freedom of a vehicle for 2 weeks. And the very first day that I had the car, I was in a minor car accident, by anyone else's standards, but I had never been in a car accident before. Dad's car is a 2000 Toyota Avalon, and barely, barely, there was no damage. That caused me to have a really bad panic attack. Not about due to the fact that I knew I was going to have to tell my dad, and I reverted back into a kid. I was shaking, I was crying, I changed into a different person. I went back into being a kid and that's all the only way I can describe it. The only way I managed to get out of it was coming to the conclusion that instead of telling Dad, I would pay for the damages myself. So eventually I calmed down enough and I was able to drive myself home. But when I woke up the next day, I had that panic attack feeling. And I went out with breakfast with some friends, and we went to a restaurant I've been to a lot of times, but there were two people there who had been invited that I wasn't expecting. And under normal circumstances, I'm a very social person. I would have been fine with that, but it essentially turned me into like a shaky, meek person. And I realized that, I needed to get some help. So I went to the after hours because it was a weekend and my doctor was on vacation anyway. I asked for some Ativan. They gave me 10 Ativan. I took them over one day and then two. And then I basically called it an Ativan vacation. That was a Sunday. I went to work on Monday. I was fine. I was driving the car. I was very, very cautious. I felt like a very bad driver. Like, I was being overly careful and felt like everything I was doing was going to create a car accident. And then let's say that was Monday, then Tuesday or Wednesday, I had driven the car. I had trouble parking the car. I didn't hit anything, but it was quite a tight fit, and I felt very nervous doing it. But I did it, and everything was fine. And then when I got to work, I was sitting at my desk, and we have an open concept. It was, just with the little dividers. I was sitting at my desk. I was feeling kind of anxious because of the parking of the car. And then one of my coworkers, just in the spirit of sharing, tried to throw a candy onto my desk, just a little fun-sized Halloween candy, and it hit me in the head. And it completely, it scared me more than anything that I could have ever imagined. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but for whatever reason, in that headspace, I became extremely terrified. And I had about an hour and 45-minute panic attack where I was shaking and trembling, and my body was convulsing. I couldn't even move to a private room because my legs were like rubber bands. They wouldn't move the way I wanted them to. Luckily, a friend was able to give me some Ativan that they had, enough to calm me down and get through the day. The next day when I woke up, I was still having these trembling reactions, and went to work, was shaking, but explained to my boss that I was going to go to the after hours, and I did. And so the second after hours doctor, at this point I did have an appointment with my family doctor, but it wasn't until the following week. At that point, I went to see a different doctor who prescribed me Xanax, and that seemed to work really well. I was super duper happy. My anxiety was completely gone. I felt really, really good, and it felt like a big, not even just a relief. Like I felt like myself, but like a brand new version of myself, like a happy person. And in retrospect, from speaking to my friends, I was quite manic. So that was fine. Then on October 3rd, let's see. My last full day of work was October 2nd, Wednesday. That night I went to bed and I woke up because I have a little dog and I had accidentally forgotten to feed her before I went to bed. I had taken the Xanax before. This was still just kind of being treated as normal, but I did take one before I went to bed. And I went into the kitchen. The lights were all on. It's an open concept condo, nothing to slip and fall on. And my legs just completely gave out from under me, and I smashed my face on the counter. So, if at some point I figure out editing, I will put in a picture of it. But anyway, it was this eye. I bled and bled and bled. I looked like a murder victim. There was blood everywhere, but I wasn't seriously injured. It really just caught right here. I figured at that point that the Xanax wasn't really doing the trick. So, oh, I just have to stop this. I just actually had to answer a text from my best friend who was just checking in on me. And anyway, where was I? Yeah, so I went to the emergency room the next day, and in retrospect, that's the best thing I could have done. Ironically, they were having a day where they were going to be doing like a test, like an emergency test, where they have a fake emergency and where like there's police and people yelling and fake blood. And so in the midst of a physical breakdown, it was a bit much, but I have to say they were very, very good there. They actually did give me an Ativan. They put me in a quiet room. They had the nurse came in and talked to me and asked me a lot of questions. And I think essentially they were just trying to figure out if I was suicidal. And really, I'm the least suicidal person I know probably right now, because I've been so happy in my life. I just want to get back to being that person who has these great friends and this condo and a good job and people I care about and who likes to be social and go out and do social things. So anyway, the psych nurse came in and she was really nice and asked me some questions, and then they gave me a sandwich, which I thought was quite nice. And they gave me one of those warming blankets that they gave from like I don't know if you've ever had one, but they're great. And they were really nice, and they tucked me all in, and I actually fell asleep. Once this and like the whatever it was, the fake emergency started going, that was pretty awful because there were people running and people were screaming and there were police with their guns out, which I'm sure they weren't real guns, but it was very real. It felt really real, and no one would really tell me what was going on other than it was a demonstration. And then the emergency room doctor came in. He said, the best part was that my chart had a big yellow piece of paper on the front, that it was yellow and in huge black writing it said caution. And I'm like, oh boy, there is something going on. But all he basically said was, he said that he was surprised that Xanax was being prescribed. I guess something to do with it not being great for women, or I don't know. But he gave me a prescription for clonazepam or Klonopin. And so I switched to that, and he suggested instead of taking it, I needed to do it on a schedule, so 3 times a day, Monday or morning, noon, and night. And he gave me enough for a month, which was great. So I started. Come here. Come see me. Come here. It's okay. Come on up. Yeah. Okay. Um, so, I just started focusing on that. So I would get up in the morning, I would take my citalopram, and I increased my dosage by half. So instead of 40 milligrams, I was taking 60, and then I was taking the clonazepam 3 times a day, and that worked really well. And to see my doctor at that point, and my family doctor has been my family doctor since my early teens, and has seen me through all these different, depression, anxiety things. So I felt very comfortable talking to her. Um, while I was talking to her, I was having a pretty bad attack. I kind of wish you could see what it's like, but right now I'm actually on the right medications that are stopping it. But it's a lot of shaking. It's a lot of difficulty talking. And anyway, she agreed that we should consider staying on this particular path, and I would go in on a weekly basis. So she gave me a prescription for a week, and during that week, I was able to take the 3 a day, but there were a few occasions where things came up where I felt things were a little too just regular things, just things happening out of the ordinary, showing up to socialize and there being people there I didn't know, unexpected visitors, um, just just strange things where I felt I needed to take a couple of extra. And then I saw her in a week, and she was like, okay, that's really not a great idea, but let's try another week. And then I saw her today, and she said, how are things? And I said, they're not good. I haven't gotten any better. If anything, I've gotten worse. I'm now at least taking 4 a day, 3 days, not cutting it, and it's not really helping me manage to be out in the world the way I would like to be. Like, I can be out with people that I'm comfortable with, but being in a situation that I don't know, the drug is not enough. It's not controlling the physical feelings, as well as the trembling and the vocalization issues. So at that point, she said she needed me to see a psychiatrist. So that's where I am now. I'm going to be going to see a psychiatrist as early as Thursday, but I've never had physical issues ever. Never. It's always been internal. The good news is I did, after 2 weeks, decide to tell my dad about the car accident, and let him know a little bit about what was going on with me anxiety-wise. I never ever shared with him any issues that I ever had, because we just didn't have that kind of relationship, and I think it meant a lot. And I'm lucky that his girlfriend, really, she's his wife, his common law wife at this point, her family has had mental health issues, so she is a good advocate between he and myself, because it's hard to talk to him about it. Anyway, so I guess I'm just gonna kind of see if I can keep a blog going. I know it's nothing special, and lots of people go through it, but I've got nothing but time on my hands right now. Yeah, and I'm lucky that I have a really sweet puppy that is full of giving love. And I'm lucky that I have Netflix. I don't know. Real me is actually pretty funny, but this me doesn't have a whole lot left. But I'm hopeful. So we'll leave it at that.